Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? I will have the video up here shortly. Welcome to a sort of an impromptu live stream. I'm starting to use my new OM-3, my own copy. I sent the loaner back yesterday, and now I'm using my very own Olympus or OM Systems OM-3. So, whoops, why is that upside down? I don't understand. Anyhow, uh, thanks everyone for joining me today. I know some of you will probably be joining a little bit later because of the sort of the short notice I'm giving this stream, so you may not even see it in your feed until I actually go live. I've noticed that like when the stream starts, I'll have like 5 or 10 people, and then about 15 to 30 minutes in, it's up to about 100 or so. But either way, and also a quick note: if you're watching this uh, on replay, if you turn it to 1.5x speed, that'll probably be about the right pace because I'm not a very fast talker like Robin and Jimmy when they do their live streams, or just about anybody else. I'm a very I don't have a lot of words per minute when I talk. But if you speed it up to 1.5x, then I'll probably be right about where everybody else is at, and you can finish the stream a little sooner. Uh, but thanks everyone for coming in. I see Roger's here and Discover Photography. This is the Discover Photography channel. So, oh, the data, yeah. So John, hey, how you doing, John? It's been a long. My God, John, you've been with me a long time. It's great to see you still here. And John sent me a copy of a, a data acquisition book that I believe you wrote, and also a magazine, Design something. It's been a while. Uh, but you were this is the last copy of that magazine that you actually edited before you retired, is what you wrote in the thing. So thanks. I keep that book and that magazine on my coffee table or right underneath, in a little bin with other magazines from forever ago. I really appreciate the little things you guys send me, gifts and things, uh, especially the ones that have some sort of meaning to them. So that means a lot to me. The book that you sent me and the magazine, because while I appreciate getting coffees and donations and super chats and all that, uh, it's that you really can't put a price on the little things like that. So sad to say though, I haven't read it yet. I've skimmed through a few pages here and there, time to time, over the last couple of years, but I really do it just to kind of remind me of the kind of viewers that I have here on my channel, and how grateful I am to have all of you here with me, especially those who've been with me a long time. So that's great. And I see Marco's here. Marco's also been very generous, sending me some things here and there, and which I still use to this day. I still love the Really Right Stuff plate that you sent me, and also the 35 to 100 2.8 lines. That was very generous. In addition to the super chats and everything you do for me, as many of you do. And I see Eric's here. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Hopefully you're not at work at this hour, because I know usually my streams are in the daytime and you're kind of catching me like in the background. And let's see, Nina's here. Good to see you, Nina, and thank you so much. Um, Marcus says, one thing I noticed already is how quick the battery charged in camera. Didn't hear anyone mention that. Um, well, I actually tested that the charging rate between the OM1 and the OM3, and it's actually the same in terms of the wattage that I was getting through my charger here. So I might as well get ready for the stream here. My EM10 is acting up. I got a lightning bolt going right down here. This EM10, man, this thing is like 10 years old now, and I've dropped it so many times. I can't believe it still works. Let me see if I can find some of those images that I wanted to share today. As usual, I'm never prepared, but I just wanted to get out here and show you some stuff. Shoot, I don't see. Okay, here's a couple of pictures. Oh, you're not seeing my screen here. So here's a screen when I'm charging the OM-3 with the camera off, and it fluctuates between 8 and 9 watts. And the OM1 is exactly the same. So it could be just that you have a new fresh battery from with your OM3 that is charging faster. Because the older the batteries get, the slower they charge. They take longer and longer to charge as they start to wear out. And you know, a typical battery has about 500 full recycles before it's really in bad shape. You know, it'll take all day to charge the battery, and then it won't last half as long as it did when it was brand new. So I did do testing for the charging rate, not because I noticed it was charging any faster, but I was curious to see if there were any improvements. And the answer is no. It's the same as the OM1, so it's as good as it ever was. In other words. Okay, so what I wanted to do today was kind of go through some of the computational features because I know there's always a lot of questions on that when we because these a lot of these features are available in a lot of the Olympus cameras, particularly starting with the OM1. We started getting or the EM1 Mark III. We started getting live ND, high res shot mode handheld, uh, and they kind of grouped in some other older ones like double exposure or multiple exposure. It's really double exposure. You can't do more than two. And in-camera focus stacking. These things kind of came in with the M1 Mark III. Computationally, what's new with the OM1 and the OM3 is the graduated ND filter, and uh, yeah, it's primarily the graduated ND filter, if I recall. That's the only new thing I've really seen in terms of the computational things. I think that was introduced also with the OM1 Mark II. And basically, the OM3 is an OM1 Mark II, just repackaged in a stylish and classic retro body, which I love to death. I guess I have it here, so I'm going to get this ready and set up and try and demo some of the things. But if you guys have any questions, this is an open Q&A session as well. Just put them in the chat section. I'll try to make sure that I can answer them. And if I don't answer them and I start answering other people's questions, uh, and I missed yours, feel free to ask again. It's okay. I don't ignore questions intentionally. I just miss them sometimes because my chat window, I don't know. I never got the hang of scrolling through that too well. So let me go back. That reminds me. Let me just go back to the chat screen. Hopefully, I'm still live. Sometimes I close my screen by accident here. This one here, and I just go offline. Okay, and I see David Black. Good to see you, and Contrail. Good to see you. So wow, a lot of familiar names here. And okay, so the new thing and what really makes the computational features great in the OM3 is they added the computational button. So let me see if I can switch to that camera. Yes, this one, right? Okay. So now we have, let me rotate this around. So now we have this CP button, right? And gotta straighten everything out here. There we go. And I will flip this around. And I think we're turned on. And I'm going to put this into a regular, I don't know, aperture priority. So the CP button or computational button is when you push this and you rotate the dial. Whoops. You push this and rotate the dial. You can scroll through the different computational modes available for the mode that you're in. Now you'll notice that some of these are grayed out, right? Oops, let me go back. I'll explain why that's happening in a second. But you'll notice that some of these are grayed out, right? So that's because to use the ND filter, the live ND filter, you have to be in a shutter priority mode or S mode on the mode dial. And now when I push and rotate the dial, you'll see that the live ND features are now available. So there we have the high-res shot mode for tripod, high-res shot handheld, ND2 to ND64, and then our grad NDs with various filters, our in-camera focus stacking, HDR1 and 2, and the multiple exposure. And that's the bulk of the computational features. So the high-res shot mode, let me go back to, so the high-res shot mode basically is, we have a 20 megapixel sensor in the camera. That's its native resolution. And there are two high-res shot modes, the handheld high-res shot mode and tripod high-res shot mode. So you can shoot up to 50 megapixels in handheld with the 20 megapixel sensor, and it does that by shifting the sensor around and then adding the pixels together, and you get a 50 megapixel image, and the resolution is excellent. The best way to process the high-res shot mode is in OM workspace. It does the best job of extracting the detail. That said, I usually use just DxO Photolab 8. It probably gets me about 95% of the way there, but for that little bit of extra sharpness and detail extraction, I might go to OM Workspace, and I'll show you a couple of things that I did in OM Workspace. And then we have a tripod mode, which will give you 80 megapixels. So it's using the same methodology of shifting the sensor around and then adding the pixels together. The difference being is that when you're handheld, the camera takes into account any kind of shake from your hand. It compensates for that by basically, only extracting pixels that are sharp. If there's any unsharp pictures, then or unsharp pixels, it's going to replace that with one of the sharper pixels, and then ultimately you get 50 megapixels. So it throws away 30 megapixels worth of unsharp pixels, and then the 80 megapixel. When you're on a tripod, everything, all the pixels should be sharp when it's shifting the sensor around because it's not going to be moving. The camera's not going to be moving. So that's the kind of gist of it. Let's not get too technical about it. Typically, I just use the handheld high-res shot mode, whether I'm on a tripod or handheld. Going to 80 megapixels, I didn't see really a big enough bump in resolution for me to want to use it. Although I will sometimes, but 80 megapixels is a lot. It's just way too much. And I'd rather work with a smaller 50 megapixel file, if you want to call that small. Okay, and then Marco says, can you flip over? Marco says, can you flip over, Rob Trek? We're seeing the screen upside. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, I can flip it over. My bad. My bad. I do have a flip screen here, and then I can go to that. And that should be right side up. Because before you weren't seeing that. My mistake. Okay. I'm going to go to... Too many windows. A little disorientated now myself, dizzy. Okay, and then I see another question here from Rolla. Rolla says, question, Rob, said The buffer on the OM-3 was 66. Thomas ISO said the buffer on the OM-3 is 102 shots. Which one is correct? Oh, I'm saying 68. So I will show you on the screen here. Give me 1 second. So there's the question that Rolla Gravit is asking. And I will flip over. There we go. So let's put it into SH2, for example. What? Did I disable? Hold on. Why am I not getting? Oh, because of my ISO, I believe. Let me just make sure. All right, why am I not seeing SH1, SH2? Oh, I'm in high-res shot mode, that's why. Okay. So, always something, right? SH2, well, we'll do SH1. That's 120 frames per second, right? And you can see, oh, I need my glasses. 1 second. We're in shutter priority. It's not showing the buffer, but if I push, give me a second here. Take off this. I was getting 66, 68 frames. Let me check SH2. Oh, that's interesting. You know, when I had the when I was using the whatchamacallit, but right now I'm showing 85 frames here. And let me put it into this manual focus. See, the buffer is dropping down. I don't know if I can zoom in on that. And focus. Okay, so there's the buffer, right? It goes up to 85 on my camera. See that? And then if I hold the button down, it goes down. That's interesting. When I was when I had the loaner, that number said 65. Of course, with my dying eyes, maybe it did say 85 before, but I'm pretty sure it said 65 or 68, 68 frame buffer. This one is showing me 85 frame buffer. That's interesting. I'd be interesting to see if people can take a picture of the back of their screen with their OM-3 and see if they get a bigger number than I do. But I'm showing 85 as the buffer. Okay. Okay. Yeah, but it was like 68 when I had the loaner that I sent back yesterday. This is mine that I got. Okay. Roger says, if the OM-3 is basically the OM-1 Mark II, do you think a firmware update with that CP button could be created for the OM-1 Mark II? I don't see why not. Yeah. What camera am I on? This one. I don't see why not. I mean, they added the menu button on the OM-1 Mark I, right, to be the trash button. That was just a firmware update by moving buttons around. They can do so much in firmware. There are going to be some limitations as far as programming different buttons. But I don't see any reason that that would be a limitation on the OM-1 Mark II. I heard the biggest computational feature of the OM-3 is that it subtracts 2,000 from your bank account. I can attest to that. Actually, it did not subtract 2,000 from my bank account because I don't have $2,000 in my bank. It subtracted, it added $2,000 to my credit card. And Paul Sutton is here. Good morning. Good to see you. Robert D. Donato. Wow, hey, 32 Celsius. Man, that's warm. That's pretty awesome. Okay, so I talked about the high res real quick. So let me show you a couple of examples, okay? And I'm going to pull it up here. Maybe I can go right into my photo editor first. 1 second. Where is it? Where's Great Falls? Oh, here. Okay, so I went to Great Falls National Park, and if you look over here, it's really small on your screen, I'm sure, but it says 8160 by 6120. So this is a handheld 50 megapixel image, and I used the 75 millimeter f1.8 lens with the f5.6. Let me sort this by name. So let's look at this image here. This is the regular 20 megapixel image. And I'm going to put that side by side with the 50 megapixel high-res image here. So I'm going to zoom out one more time so you can get a context of what we're looking at. So on the left side is the 20 megapixel image. On the right side is the 80 megapixel, or I'm sorry, 50 megapixel image. So let's zoom into one of these rocks. See if you can see the difference in detail. So 1 second. Am I doing this right? Okay, so where's my reference image? Okay, so my reference image, this, yeah. Okay, so when you look at it like this, the 20 megapixel image looks like it's sharper, but it really isn't. You have to process the high-res shot to actually extract the fine detail that we can get out of this. So don't be discouraged if you take a 50 megapixel image and it doesn't look as good as the 20 megapixel, because trust me, when you start to edit these, I'm going to zoom in even more. If you look at the 20 megapixel image, you can see it's starting to fall apart. Whereas the 50 megapixel image, albeit it looks a little soft, but that's because it hasn't been processed. You can see it's not falling apart as quickly as the 20 megapixel image. So this little strand of grass, you can see is all pixelated, whereas on this side, that same strain of grass is not pixelated. So you have to seriously pixel peep to find these things. However, the magic of the handheld high-res shot mode is when you start processing the image and editing and doing, you get a lot more flexibility. You get less noise in the image. So there's going to be, you're going to get a much cleaner image. Going to have more dynamic range because the high-res shot modes are 14-bit versus the 20 megapixel are only 12-bit. But we're splitting hairs here. But what I did is I took 34 images in handheld high-res shot mode of 50 megapixels. I stitched them together and I created this giant pano. Because you can see each frame at 75 millimeters was, very, very tight. But let me give you, we'll go to my Flickr page. This is the, and I'll put a link here for you. I got to do this without, try to do this without shutting my stream down. Okay. So I want you to go and now or later, whenever, look at it later. But that's a 500 megapixel image of 34 50 megapixel images stitched together. If you do simple math, it should be like much bigger than 500 megapixels. But because there's a lot of overlapping, when you're stitching things together, you don't end up with an exact multiple of 50 megapixels. You end up with a lot less. Typically about a third less if you do perfect stitching and perfect panning. And I'll do a video on that later, but let me show you another one. Okay, this one here. Okay, this image here is a subset of the 34 images. I took 9 images, well, 10 actually. I could have taken 9. I made a mistake. It ended up being 10. But this is 10 images stitched together. So it's a subset of those 34. The difference with this image, okay, and you can see the detail is amazing. And a side benefit of using the high-res shot mode is it acts almost like a slow shutter. So you get this nice blurring of the water. And there's very, very few artifacts here. But the key difference to this image here is that all I did is I brought them into OM Workspace, the raw images, exported them as TIFF without doing any editing. So I exported those 10 images as TIFF, and then I used the free pano stitching software called Hugin, Hugin, and stitched them together. And I was able to get this result. So you can do pano stitching like this, and you don't have to buy any new software. Because OM Workspace is free when you buy the OM-3 or really any OM system camera. You get OM Workspace for free, and then you can download Hugin also for free. And you can do things like this. And I'll try and do a video tutorial on how I did this exactly. Because the workflow is a little bit awkward at first, but I'll try and simplify it so that everybody can get started very quickly. Okay. Let me go back to the chat. And yeah, zoomed out, I see more contrast than 50 megapixels. Yeah, so like I said, the OM-3 has a 14-bit high-res shot mode, both in the 50 and the 80 megapixel. And Paul says, one question, how does it make a better photographer? How will it improve my shots? What can it do I cannot do? This is a question I'm asking before considering any question. These are all very valid questions, right? Because the core of photography really has very little to do with the gear itself, right? Photography is a craft or an art. A lot of people like to think of it as an art. And cameras can do, so you want to think about Okay, what kind of challenge or question or problem is this new camera going to solve that I can't do with my current camera? And that's really the first question you should always ask yourself before you buy another camera is what problem is this camera going to solve that I can't do with my current camera? And is it worth spending X number of dollars to be able to solve this problem? Because maybe it's not a big deal, right? All right, I need to get a glass of water. I don't know why I'm so dry mouth right now. So what I'm showing you now with the 50 megapixel and 80 megapixel high-res shot mode, basically this is an exercise for me to take advantage of the extra resolution I can get. So I could probably get away with the 20 megapixel sensor and do basically the same thing. But if I'm doing, say, something more, because right now I'm just doing it for fun, okay? I like the academic exercise of seeing what we can do with the cameras. And shooting at 50 megapixels or shooting at 80 megapixels, for me, is just an academic exercise that I'm having fun with, right? But it does solve really two problems potentially. Is um, if you're invested in the Micro Four Thirds system, you love the lenses, you love the format, etc., and you don't have high-res shot mode right now, right? Maybe you got an EM-10 Mark II or whatever, and you're thinking about upgrading. It will give you more resolution. Number one, you'll get more resolution in your images. And number two is it'll also reduce noise and give you better dynamic range. So you can get shots in high-res shot mode or better shots in high-res shot mode than you can using just the non-high-res shot mode. So that's it. But as a craft, as an art, does that solve a problem for you? That's something only you can answer. For me, it's not really solving a problem. It's just I'm really enjoying squeezing out every little bit I can out of a small sensor, right? Out of 20 megapixels. Uh, and it brings me joy and happiness and everything to be able to do things like this with the camera. So I'm going to try and use it artistically, right? Artistically, right? So the other thing it does, as I showed here, is I'm in broad daylight. I'm not using any ND filters or yeah, I'm not using an ND filter or polarizer or anything here. And I'm getting a smooth waterfall. So if you want to do this uh, in bright daylight without using ND filters, you can do that with high-res shot mode. You can smooth out the waterfall because if you look at, let me go to, if you look at this image, I'm going to set this as the reference. Okay, this image here is the 20 megapixel image. This one here is the high-res shot image. See the difference? I'm now getting smooth water. So if you want this creative effect, as thinking of photography as an art or craft, this is something you can do with high-res shot mode that you can't do with a regular 20 megapixel shot. You can shoot in broad daylight and still get a slow shutter speed effect because basically what it's doing, right, it's taking multiple images and putting them together. So your effective shutter speed is actually much slower, but you're able to do that without using an ND filter. So this is one problem it could potentially solve for you. Okay, but that's a great question, Paul, and I think that it's definitely a question everyone should ask themselves. But the OM-3, in my opinion, is not really a camera that's going to solve any problems for anybody. It's really a camera for people that just want that styling, right? It's just a stylish camera. And it has all of the guts of the OM-1 Mark II and all of the capabilities of that with some limitations like the buffer speed that we showed before. Because for me, I'm looking at it, I have the OM-1 Mark 1, right? And it's 99% as capable, if not more capable than the OM-3. However, I did not upgrade to the OM-1 Mark 2, right? Because I just couldn't justify trading my OM-1 in. At the time, I was only gonna get like $700-800 for it. Probably get less now, but, trading that in and spending another 1,000, $1,500 just to get those few extra things because it's not gonna solve any problems for me that I have now. The graduated ND filter is, the better high-res shot mode algorithm, a little bit better autofocus for birding. All these things were kind of minor updates for me, and I couldn't justify spending that much more. 'Cause it's basically the same camera, right? Just some tweaks and some improvements, right? But not enough for me to get this, let's say, $1,000 to $1,500 price gap between the Mark 1 and the Mark 2. However, the OM-3 just the is just so beautiful to me. It just drew me in by its looks and its design and its build quality. That was a big deal, right? That was a big part of my decision to buy it. Number 2, it had all of the features that I wanted in the OM-1 Mark 2. The better autofocus, graduated ND filter, just to name the two. And since we're talking about computational, but they also added the creative dial back from the Pen F, which I didn't use that much on the Pen F, but I think I'll try using it again. I like to post-process my images a lot, but I get it. It is kind of fun. I'll show you a couple images I did today, but so it added that. And then number 3, it was the same price as the OM-1 Mark 2. So I'm like, now I can get basically everything I wanted or would have wanted out of the OM-1 Mark 2, but in a nicer, so it checked all the boxes for me. It's a good-looking camera, does everything the OM-1 Mark 2 does, and it doesn't cost any more than the OM-1 Mark 2. Theoretically, it costs less, but in practice, you can buy them at the same price, which is great for people that are having a hard time, right? They're like, should I get the OM-1 Mark 3 or the OM-1 Mark 2? The OM-1 Mark 2 is the better camera when you look at it from a pragmatic point of view. Now you don't have to struggle with that because the OM-1 Mark 2 is the same price. It's on sale right now. So just get the OM-1 Mark 2 if you want the better camera and you don't care about the looks, right? Because a lot of people you know, they don't care about the looks, right? You don't see what the camera looks like in the pictures. You know what I mean? So so the OM-3 kind of checked a lot of boxes for me. And there's been a lot of discussion that, and I think it was in Robin Wong's stream today, but I see it in the forums and questions that I get in email and messages that I get about, why couldn't they have just uh, you know, put like an OM-5 guts in there, because OM-5 selling for $1,000 right now, right? Why not put the OM-5 guts in there and, repackage it in a similar body, metal build with, the retro design, and you could have maybe a 14 or $1,500 camera or less. Who knows, right? Take out the weather sealing, maybe you got $1,000 camera. I don't know, I mean, we can kind of play this game all day long, right? They could do this, they could do that, they could pull this back. But, you know, we didn't get that. We got the OM-3. And for me, it checked all the boxes that I wanted. And when you want something, you can justify the price, right? A product is only worth as much as somebody is willing to pay for it. And I was willing to pay the 2,000 for this camera because of the reasons I stated. But that's kind of a long drawn out answer to Paul's point about, what problem is this camera solving for you? Uh, what capabilities can it bring to the table that will let you explore new opportunities in photography, like live comp, for example, is a big one. Uh, Not that you can't get live comp in a $500 camera from OM Systems, but it's here in the OM-3. Isn't the 20 megapixel jagged because there's no anti-alias filter on the sensor, but the composition process will erase the anti-aliasing? Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. I'm not a real high technical guy, but yeah, that makes total sense to me. Are you going to process the left image? No. I've already processed the images and stitched them together and put them on my Flickr page, so you can look at them there. Uh, but I can, when I do the video of the panel stitching, I'll be sure to talk about how I process the high-res shots. Basically, I just run it through, if I'm using Photolab, I just run it through DxO Deep Prime. If I'm using OM Workspace, all I have to do is export as a TIFF file. OM Workspace, sharpens the image and does everything for you on the export. You don't really need to do anything processing wise. So the processing is just one click of a button. There's nothing really to do. Sometimes I might do some unsharp mask a little bit, and other times I might saturate the colors a little more because ultimately it is a raw file. I may saturate the images a little more. I may pull the highlights in, the normal things you would do with any raw file. You just get a little more flexibility with the high-res shot files. And being Wolfie's here, good to see you, Clint Johnson. And yeah, Robert and I are on the same page, right, Roberto? Everything you need without being bloated and complicated, powerful, simple, good looking. That pretty much sums it up for me, right? Adam Farb is here. Am I in the Twilight Zone? Nighttime Rob Trek. Everybody wants to. Why didn't they? The people doing that were never buying that camera. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of mixed. Because in the in this community where all of us are pretty well versed in what's new and what's the latest and greatest from all the different manufacturers, we can cherry pick the individual features and capabilities from every camera system, and we might be really attached to this one feature. So let's look at it this way. Let's say we have a Fujifilm X-T5, right? And we got rid of the film simulations. How much do you think that camera is worth now? You know what I mean? If they had a firmware update come out and they got rid of the film simulations, seriously, that the price of that camera will crash on the used market, and on the new market, they're gonna have to discount it quite a bit. Because Fuji has built a huge amount of value in the film simulations into their entire camera line. And if they got rid of that, I guarantee Fuji would probably have a lot of trouble, get into a lot of trouble uh, trying to sell their cameras. Just my opinion. I think that's what would happen. Uh, you know, so but my point is about cherry picking certain features, right? Like if OM Systems took out high-res shot mode, took out live comp, took away live and, if they took out all the computational features and camera stacking, now you basically have a Sony camera, right? Because Sony doesn't do really any of those things. Doesn't do live ND. The high-res shot mode is a joke. And up until only very recently did they start doing focus bracketing. You couldn't even do focus bracketing with a Sony, let alone in-camera stacking, right? So, but what does Sony have? It has amazing autofocus, right? Take away the amazing autofocus. Let's say they put contrast detect autofocus in a Sony camera. What do you think the value of a Sony camera is going to be at that point? So again, I'm cherry picking, right? And just something to think about. At least that's how I think about it. I just want to kind of just share with you how I look at camera systems. Every camera system has their own unique selling point, USP, right? And I think for the OM systems, right, is all of the computational features that it has and the things you can do with it to expand your photography in a creative way. So high-res shot mode, do you really need 50 megapixels? No, but you want to have like a long shutter speed effect to get that smooth waterfall in broad daylight without having to use an ND filter? Maybe. Do you want the extra dynamic range that you can get and the lower noise when you're in low light situation? Because that's broad daylight. But in low light situations, you're going to get less noise, better dynamic range, and more resolution to boot, right? When you start uh, processing and pixel peeping, et cetera, all of that. Uh, these are things that you can really only get in an OM system camera. Now, I know that a lot of camera systems are starting to put high-res shot in their cameras, but in every case, you have to export all of those images to a desktop software and process them. And trust me, that process is very, very clunky and fraught with problems. I tried a few times on my Fuji X-H2 to do that. I've tried a few times on my Sony A7R5 to try to get like whatever the 200 or 300 megapixel file that you get out of that. Um, and it's not worth it. It's better to, but with the OM Systems camera, it's as easy as pushing the shutter button and it's done for you, you know? Uh, So there's a certain execution and fluid operation of OM systems features and computational features that you won't get in any other camera system. I don't know any other camera. Panasonic might have it in some of theirs, like Live Comp, Lifetime, Live Bulb. Uh, these are things that, as a photographer, may not solve a problem, but will make the process easier for you, right? And I think that's what OM Systems excels at is the sort of the workflow of whatever you want to do going to be much smoother and much easier. And the OM-3 is all about styling with function. If you see them value, the camera's for you. If the camera doesn't make sense to you, then it isn't for you. Yeah, it pretty much sums it up, right? Did districts sell multiple OM-3s? I have no idea. I need to go up and see them maybe this weekend. Okay. So I'll buy one during bonus time. At the moment, we are house hunting and racking up credit. Wife will rip my head off. Yeah, no worries, man. Don't buy a camera if it's gonna put you out in any way, you know? I mean, I'm single, no kids, no family, nothing. So I'm only accountable to myself, so it's I have a lot less much smaller hill to climb to buy a camera. All I have to do is make sure I have enough credit on my credit card. I don't have to answer to anybody. And I'm not planning to buy a house or a car or any of that stuff, so I'm good. Did they bundle the flash? They did not. So all you get is the camera, the battery, and a cable. That's it. So let me show you the box. And a manual. Manual. Believe it or not, you get a manual. Where is it? So this is the box I got it in. Manufactured January 6th. January 6th. That date rings a bell for some reason. January 6th of 2025. Okay. Uh, I'm not a big unboxing guy. I think I have one video out of thousands for unboxing. So there's a warranty card. I think it's 2 years. I don't know. We'll look in a second. A multi-language manual. So it looks like there's about 20 languages. And there's 338 pages. So divide that by 20. You got about 10 or 15 pages per language. Okay, and then inside, some bubble wrap and the cable and the battery. And that's it. Oh, yeah, battery. I haven't even opened my battery yet. I have a battery from my OM-1. And a strap. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. This is about the cheapest strap I ever seen. The battery, let's see. See what the manufacturer date is on the battery. Ooh, August 26, 2024. So this is basically a fresh battery. It hasn't been sitting in the warehouse for 2 years. Let's think about it. The OM-1 Mark 1 came out 3 years ago, right? So this battery has the potential to be 3 years old, at least, already. Because they could just be pulling stock off the shelf. But this one I got 2024, so it's potentially a brand new battery. Freshly manufactured. And this is a USB-C to USB-C. So when I got my own one, I believe it was a USB-A to USB-C. So this is a dual USB-C cable. That is it. That is it. And the USA warranty is doesn't say. There's the European, New Zealand, Asia. One year, main unit only. A 1-year warranty. Okay. All right, so that's the unboxing. And let's see, any other questions? Hi, Rob. Do you think it's worth upgrading from the OM-5 to the OM-3 if you are just interested in photography? No. The OM-3 is purely I mean, I hate to use the word vanity, but this is purely a vanity purchase. It's all about the looks. If you're going to upgrade if you don't care what the camera looks like, I would upgrade to, at the very least, the OM-1 Mark 1. I would skip the EM1 series at this point. I would just go right to the OM-1 Mark 1. Because you can get that at a really good deal. You can buy it for just a little more than a brand new OM-5, right? So that's where I would upgrade. EM5 Mark 3, I would go to the OM-1 Mark 1. That's the least path of resistance with the most bang for the buck. And then, if you like the OM-3 and you like the features that the OM-1 series has, then yeah, it's a fine upgrade. I said in my last stream, I don't have to choose now between my Pen F and my OM-1. Because when I used to go out shooting, I would have to think, am I going to go shooting birds, sports action wildlife, or am I going to just do some street shooting? And if I was going out birding, I was going to say, I'm going to bring the OM-1, but it's only going to be for birding. I don't like to shoot street and everything else with it. That's my work camera. But now, now I can take out the OM-3 because just the look of the camera, and I probably a lot of us are in the minority, but sometimes it matters what the camera looks like and how it just, feels when we hold it. And I'm not talking about ergonomics, but do you look at the camera and you kind of smile and say, "This is such a nice camera. I want to take some pictures." So it inspires me a little bit. So that's what this camera is. It's purely a vanity purchase. So was the Pen F when I bought it. because I had an EM-10 Mark II, my very first Micro Four Thirds camera, and I fell in love with the system at that point. And about a month later, I bought the Pen F because I said, I love this system so much. The Pen F is such a beautiful camera. I'm going to buy it. Not that the Pen F really did anything more that the EM-10 Mark II did. It really didn't. It was, it was basically just a prettier camera. But I wasn't sold on Micro Four Thirds when I first bought the EM-10 Mark II. I bought the EM-10 Mark II because I just wanted something smaller, lighter. I was shooting with a D750, full frame camera at the time, and took great images. But the EM-10 Mark II, for what I was shooting, did the same thing, with basically the same image quality, and in a much smaller, lighter package. So once my confidence was very high what the capability of the M10 Mark II was, or the Micro Four Thirds system, I didn't hesitate to buy the Pen F because I just thought that was a much better looking camera. And the OM-3, yeah, if you had to choose on a very pragmatic level, OM-1 or OM-3, get the OM-1. It's a better camera, hands down. But like I said, the OM-3, it's just it's just about the packaging, being in a vintage retro style. Mark said, "Well, I did not expect to see a live stream at this time. It's 9:20 a.m. in Singapore. I usually can only watch a replay because of live streams late at night." I know, I was thinking about it all day today about doing a live stream about the computational features. I only got to the one, the high-res shot mode, but I do want to show a couple others. Uh, and I saw someone get a brown leather strap bundled inside Singapore. Yeah, I think different markets are getting different straps. I saw one in Australia on Roberto's channel, but I think it was with the launch. If you bought the camera, pre-ordered it, they gave you the brown leather strap. Really nice strap. And Robin says, I love the form of the OM-3. It reminds me of the classic film cameras. I might not take me a better photographer, but it would inspire me to take pictures. Yeah, absolutely. It's just nice. I mean, like I said, it's all about enjoying your hobby, your craft, We're not talking about professional photographers uh, buying this camera, right? We're talking about people that enjoy photography and enjoy very finely crafted piece of equipment, right? Something very well made and designed just for them. And it pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, right? But why only 1 year warranty in the US seems unfair given the 5-year warranty in other countries for folks who pre-ordered. Yeah, a little bit, right? I don't know why because I got the extended warranty when I pre-ordered the OM-1 Mark One. So it'll probably be in warranty longer than the OM-3 I just bought if that 1 year thing is right. And Adam says, I still think the tilty screen would have really placed it in the street photos category. Looking forward to seeing how people utilize the color wheel and those artistic features. Yes. Uh, I'm sort of I'm more in the line of the fully articulating screen now. I've always thought I'd prefer the tilty screen, right? But I'm finding that I would much rather have this flip out screen. And it's not because I'm doing video or anything like that, but I don't know. I just like I've gotten used to it and I like it better now. I feel like I'm limited now if I use just the tilt screen. I'm like, oh, I can't flip this out this way. Uh, I don't know. Either way, it's not a deal breaker for me. If it came with just a regular tilt screen, I'd have been fine with it. But with this screen, if I don't want the screen to be displayed, I can just close it, and now the screen is basically protected. But it's in practice, it's neither here nor there to me. Uh, And looking forward to mine arriving tomorrow morning. My 45-year camera journey has gone from Canon to Sony to Fuji to Olympus. Yeah, I went actually Sony, Nikon, Olympus. So I used Sony for a while, then I went to Nikon. Ironically, because I hated mirrorless cameras. I went to back to a optical viewfinder in the Nikons like I had the D750, the D7100, etc. D80. Uh, and then uh, now I'm with OM Systems. It's my number one choice. And Viet says, I do love the OM-3 look. I just don't know what I feel about the OM system, OM text on the Pentaprism. Yeah, it's too bad they couldn't keep the Olympus name. Because when I say OM system, nobody knows who the heck or what the heck I'm talking about. When I say Olympus, then they can associate that with cameras, right? I mean, that happened today. A friend of mine, I was out with a friend of mine, and she was like, OM? Like Casey from Camera Conspiracies, OM. I said, no, you have to say the two letters separately, OM system. It's Olympus Mitani, whatever. And okay. And I said, well, it used to be Olympus, but Olympus sold it to another company. And she goes, oh, okay, that's why they anyway. Yeah, it's too bad. Lucky Straps. Oh, yeah. That was a nice strap. And my goodness, thank you, Bing Wolfie. I really appreciate that. It says, how does the build quality of the OM-3 feel compared to the original EM5? Okay, I don't have an original EM5, but I do have an EM5 Mark II, which is probably even a little better than the Mark 1. And build quality feels the same. It feels the same. The EM5 Mark II is a little bit smaller camera, but it's solid, right? Nice all metal build, premium metal, not like the metal on the EM10 Mark II. The EM10 Mark II is all metal. It's a little bit thinner metal though. It doesn't feel quite as robust. The EM5 Mark II feels definitely very solid. And the OM-3 is every bit as good as the EM5 Mark II and the Pen F. So I have no question about the build quality. There's no flexing in the body. There's no flexing here. Everything is tight. All the buttons are solid. Have a nice click feel to them. The mode dial is actually a little bit stiffer than my OM1. Of course, that might be because it's brand new. My OM1, I can turn a little bit easier with my thumb than this one. This one's a little bit stiffer. And there's a locking thing here. So no worries. And the bottom plate is all metal. Very high level of confidence that I'm not going to just break the bottom off like on the EM5 Mark III. Okay. Thank you again for the super chat. And Being Wolf says, I love my M5s, but would like the functionality of more modern autofocus the OM3. I do appreciate good build quality, and you will feel it and see it. Once you see one for yourself, I think you'll be convinced. Need a dual hinge rear screen, yes. That is the sort of the halo of adjustable screens, right? Where you can tilt it and flip it all the way out. I'm curious though, who owns the patent for that? I don't know who came out first, Sony or Panasonic. But most likely somebody has to pay a license fee to somebody else to be able to use that design. And OM Systems is not going to do it. They have to save, they have to maximize their profitability. And Vuviet Han says, I go back and forth between Flippy and Tilty. I think Tilty is nicer for street or more from the hip shooting, but then you can't do selfies. Yeah. Yeah, I used the flip screen today at a restaurant with a couple of friends where I put the camera up on the top of the bench seat, and then the three of us sat on the other side, and I flipped the screen around so we could take the picture and show you. I'm sure they won't mind, but that's me today. See, same shirt. I went out earlier today with a couple of friends. But I put the camera, the OM-3 on the bench, had the screen flip around, and then we could see ourselves and sit together, that kind of thing. Okay. And visited the Great Basin National Park today. Wanted to go light as possible, so I took the G100 to the cave tour. Should have used the Olympus body. Stabilization would have been so, yeah. Yeah, a cave's going to be low light, so you want to have the IBIS so that you can hand hold and use slower shutter speeds, definitely. It would be funny to start a G line. OMG. OEMG Mark. I know, right? Hey, Rob, nice to see you. Keep up the excellent work and thanks for your patient, helpful approach. Oh, yeah, I try. I try. Oh my God. Thank you again, Being Wolfie. You're so kind, so generous. I really appreciate that. Okay, so let me demo the live ND, grad ND real quick, okay? Because when you see how it works, I think, because of the CP button, I'm starting to use that feature more and more and more. And I'm going to start to use it a lot more in the future because it is really, really handy. And I'll show you what caught me off guard, pleasantly surprised me about this feature. Okay. Whoops, that's the wrong. Me. Oh, did I lose my camera? Got 19 watts going there. How come there's no watts going into the camera? 1 watt. I don't know why the camera shut off. Okay. So, all right, I got a little scene set up here. Everything went to sleep. I was talking longer than I thought there. Okay. So now we're zoomed in too tight. Come over here. Come over here. We need to be not upside down, right? Oh, come on. Stop shutting off. Let me see. Why am I not getting power? This should be charging. Okay, I'm going to change batteries real quick. Let's hope that stays on because now I got 7, 8 watts. All right. Let me go into shutter priority. Let's get out of this. We'll put it into a regular shutter mode here. Okay. All right. Okay, that's a normal picture. So let me zoom out. And okay, so let me just take a picture here, okay? Let's see. Now I'm going to activate the live ND. Or I'm sorry, let's do the grad ND. So we'll do grad ND. I'm going to pick the highest one, 8 stops. And you can choose between soft, medium, and hard. All that does is how quickly does it fade out. So if I use soft, it's going to very gradually fade down. And if I use medium, it's going to be a little bit harder. And then, if I select, why did it go into focus stacking? Grad ND, there we go. So I have soft, medium, hard. Whoops. Stop it. So soft, medium, hard, right? So it's just going to, it just basically it's how hard or soft does it go down. And you can use the touch screen to adjust it, or you can use the dials to adjust it and rotate it around. But we're going to do just a straight thing. And you can use the D-pad. Oops. And let me go back in. Okay. I haven't quite got the hang of this yet. So grad 8. Soft. All right, so let me take another picture with a soft grad, and I'm going to raise this up just a bit and take another picture. Okay, now let me plug this in so you can see it. I can't use the ND with the HDMI plugged in. I just wanted to show you the pictures now. Okay. All right. So this is the live shot, right? I'm going to take a picture here. That's with the grad ND. And then I'm going to toggle it off. And now the grad ND is off, and take another picture. Okay, so if I push play, this is the picture without grad ND. Right, this is without. All right, what am I doing wrong here? The right. Okay, and then grad ND, take another picture. Oh, my ISO. That's why. Okay, take another picture. Good thing I'm not an ambassador. I would be fired on the spot. All right, so this is without the grad ND. And then this is with the grad ND. So you see the difference here? Look, the way the camera metered it is the bottom is very dark, the top is very bright, but overall it balances out to a middle gray. But when you use the live grad ND, the top gets very dark, so it has to raise the exposure, and now the bottom is actually lighter. See, there's without grad ND, there's with grad ND. So not only does it, darken the top of the screen or the top of the image, it also boosts the exposure a little bit so that the shadows at the bottom come in better. So let me pick a different mode. Just pick program mode. So, and then I'm going to change it to a grad ND 4 because 8 seemed a little bit strong. We'll leave that on soft. Take a picture. Then we'll turn it off. Take another picture. Then let's look at this. So this is without grad ND. That's with grad ND. Without and with. So again, the shadow area down here, if we look at that, and then we look at it without, okay, let me see if I can do this now. That's without, and that's with. Without and with it. So essentially what I was trying to demonstrate is that the camera raises the exposure so that the shadows are brighter, so you get less noise in the shadows. And I'm just illustrating how the camera's adjusting the exposure. But when you go into post-processing, if you were to try to raise the shadows, because you can do graduated filters in post-processing, right? In most software, like Lightroom, you can raise the shadows just using a graduated filter, very similar to what we're doing here in the camera. But the difference being is that the camera will raise the exposure by either slowing the shutter speed down or raising the ISO or opening the aperture. However it does it, it raises the exposure so you're going to get less noise in the shadows. You don't have to raise them in post-processing. So ultimately, you're going to get the better image. Also, what I noticed with the grad ND or the live ND, the way it works is it's stacking images together at different exposures, right? Uh, so, it's not too dissimilar from high-res shot mode, but rather than shifting the pixels around, it's just stacking images together and blending them. So that's why you see that busy line after you take the picture. And I noticed that you get less noise in the image, whether you're using live ND or uh, grad ND. So if you don't want to use high-res shot mode, you just need a 20 megapixel image and nothing's moving in the scene. If it's a static scene, still life, whatever, landscape typically, if you use live ND on a tripod, you're going to get less noise in the image. But it's stacking images together. So it's kind of a side benefit that I saw from using live ND was I was getting less noisier images in the shadow areas. Now I wasn't able to get any better highlight recovery. That seemed to be about the same. I was definitely getting less noise. Okay. Mas, can you save the manual lens profiles in OM-3 so that you can get the Exif data on your photos? Yes. So that would be, let's see. Where is that? Probably in here. Lens info settings. So they have one in there now. And let me close your thing. If I want to add, I'll create lens. I can add another one. Now I would just use the touch screen. We'll call this the Q1. And focal length 10 millimeters. Aperture, let's say it's a 0.95. And set. So now I have two lenses in here, right? A 9mm fisheye and a Q1. Okay. I have to admit that the positional graduate ND filter is something that really intrigues me. That replaces $300 plus would cost to use physical setup on this. Yeah, that's a great point. A lot of fisheye lenses, not fisheye, but a lot of wide angle lenses, including fisheyes, have a very bulbous front and are not easy to adapt filters to. People do it. Sometimes people just hold the filter in front of the lens. But ultimately, bulbous lenses are not ideal for using filters. Typically there's no way to thread them on there. There's no way to thread on the adapters, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. they do make some very elaborate systems that can attach filters to bulbous type lenses, but it's not ideal because you can still get light coming in from behind, things like that. And they try to mitigate that, but uh, that's an excellent point for lenses that are difficult, if not impossible, to adapt filters to. Grad ND and the Live ND are pretty amazing features to have. So that's a great example of the computational feature solving a problem. That's my girl. Who are you talking about? You know her? Okay, if I missed anyone's question here, don't think so. All right, so we looked at the high-res shot, we looked at the ND, the graduated ND. The live ND is pretty much the same thing, but the way I use live ND is to do double exposures. So let me show you a quick example of that. 1 second. Is this image. This image here is actually the image overlay function, but you can do this with the double exposure feature. But the way I did this is I used the live ND filter, or yeah, the live ND to slow the shutter speed down so that I could turn the camera with that slow shutter speed. And then I did image overlay and took another picture of these cattails and put that and overlaid it on top of the ICM shot. So in the background is the intentional camera movement shot, and then in the foreground is just the cattails, a static shot. So to demonstrate that, what I'll do, I don't need to do this. Might be able to do it here. I didn't think the live ND worked. So let me put it in shutter priority. The ND8 gives me 1/8 of a second shutter speed. Let me drop my ISO down. It lets me, yeah. And now I'm getting an exposure warning. So now I can get a 1/2 a second exposure with the ND8. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a picture while this is moving. I'm going to come down. Let's see what we got. I got kind of a blurry image there, right? Now I'm just going to take a regular shot. That. Now I have this shot and I have this shot, right? So what I'm going to do is, let's go to, oh, not going to let me do it with the HDMI. Right, without. 1 second. So okay, when I take the HDMI out, we now have this. We now have. Dang it! I bumped the table. We now have the image overlay feature. I'm going to do this. I'm going to click image overlay, 2 images, and then I'm going to select the other image that I took, and then I'm going to adjust these. I need my glasses. I'm going to adjust these so that it looks about right. So let me crank this one up. I'll crank this one down. Might be too much. Let's do that. So I'm going to say yes. And plug this back in so you can see it. It right side up. So that's the double exposure or image overlay feature. That's not a great example. Let me show you another computational feature, but that's how I use the live ND, and that's how I created this shot here. Was I used the ICM with the live ND to slow the shutter speed down, and then I took a second picture of this, and this is pretty much straight out of camera. I didn't have to do any really editing to this. All I did in post-processing was just saturate it a little bit more with the colors. Um, and then we have another feature. See if it's this screen. We do have the actual double exposure feature, which is disabled. Let's see, maybe I need to be in a different mode, or I have to unplug the HDMI. Yeah, let me unplug the HDMI and see if it comes up now. Yeah, now the multiple exposure comes up, the HDR. When I have the HDMI plugged in, some of the features get disabled. So the double exposure, what I can do is I can take a picture here. Let me go back to auto ISO. Oh, seriously? What am I doing wrong? Multiple exposure. My ISO is locked. Okay, so let's take a picture here. Okay, and then now what you can see, it's very light or very faint, but you can see a very faint image that I just took overlaid on top of the image I'm going to take next. So the next image I'm going to take is of my home camera, OM-1. So let's bring that in nice and close. And I'm going to lower the exposure down like that. Change my focus mode to SAF. This balance just right. There. Ugh. Well, I tried. What I was trying to do is get those flowers inside the lens. Let me try it one more time. So I'm going to take a picture of the flowers. A little bit darker. And then let's see, focus there. Okay. I tried. But that you get the idea. I'll show you. Let me plug it in. So that's my double exposure feature in the computational mode. I'm not super creative, but I try. This is why I'm not an ambassador, right? Because I screw things up so bad. But that's okay. When I sit down and I spend a day or two making a tutorial, this will be really, really clear. And I'll do much better examples. But doing it here live, I just wanted to give you a feel of what can be done. Okay, let me pull up the chat again. And let's see. Oh my goodness, Marcia's here. Good to see you. And Enrique, good to see you. And okay, so This looks like a question for Captain. It says, so the live grad ND won't help shooting into the sun while the scene is moving as the wind blows. That's a good question. So what you're saying here, I think, is if there's motion in the scene with grad ND, is that going to be a problem, right? So you want to use a fast shutter speed to freeze that motion, which if you're shooting into the sun, most likely you're going to have a very fast shutter speed anyway. Let's test that. I don't know. I've never thought about. So what I'm going to do, instead of, I can't have wind in my office here, but I'll move the camera a little bit while we're doing live ND with a fast shutter speed and see what happens. Okay, see if I can do that. So we're going to use grad ND, right? Let's do ND4. And let's see what shutter speed I can get to. Looks like I can get up to 1/250th. Okay. So if it's windy out, these flowers would be moving, right? So let's take a picture. What happens? They're a little bit blurry. Let's do one without grad ND. I'm going to turn grad ND off, and I'm at 1/500th of a second. I'm going to move the camera. Okay, let's see what we got. So all of these are sharp, right? Now let's do the same thing with grad ND. Okay. Oops. Give me a second here. Grad ND to an ND4, something in the middle. Okay, same shutter speed, 1/500th of a second. Let's do another one. And another one. And let's look at these. Yeah, nothing sharp. All right. Excellent question. We both learned something tonight. The live ND, grad ND, if you have anything moving in the scene, it's going to be blurry. So for like a waterfall, that would be ideal, right? If you're looking for that smooth water action. But if you're shooting into the sun, you want to darken the sky like you would with a regular ND filter, grad ND filter, and there's wind blowing, but you want the trees to be frozen or reeds or whatever's moving in the wind. You want that to be frozen together with a picture of the sun, with the exposure brought down through the ND. Yeah, it's not going to work. The grass is going to be blurry. And worse than blurry, really, it's going to look kind of artifacty or artificial, right? It's not going to be as smooth. Because even water, when you're using high-res shot, it's not quite as smooth. Let's take a look at that again. It's okay, but you can definitely see where the live or the grad ND is stacking images together, right? You can see the definite pattern there. So it's not going to be as smooth. Unlike water, water is very smooth anyway. Okay. Excellent. Excellent. I'm glad we both learned something. Thanks for asking that. Let's see. Roberto's asking, with RAW, should I ETTL and bring up highlights or the opposite? Yeah, so ETTL is short for exposed to the left, right? As opposed to ETTR. You don't need to worry about that with OM system cameras because you can do spot high, spot low. And that will bring the exposure within one stop of being clipped, either highlights or shadows, right? So I would use spot high and spot low and not worry about ETTL. You would pick the brightest thing in the scene and do spot high. So I'll give you an example. Let's see if I can do this with HDMI. Um, Super control panel. I need to take off the chat and in your question. We'll do spot high. Oh, let me turn off the grad ND. Okay. So what you would do is if you want the highlights to be, this would be ETTR. Spot high is the same as ETTR. You would pick the brightest part in the scene. If you want to do ETTL, what you would do is put this on spot low, or well, spot shadow. Okay, that's what they call it. I've been calling it spot low, but it's spot shadow, right? And just move this down. Oops, wrong button. Move this down to the darkest part of the scene, which would probably be this vase. Yeah. So now what the camera is doing is it's raising the exposure to one stop above the darkest point. So you're always going to be, now the highlights might clip now, but your shadows will not be clipped. So spot shadow is ETTL and saves the shadow areas from clipping to black. Spot high stops the highlights from clipping to black. Okay. Now, if it's an extremely high dynamic range scene, something's got to give. And then you're going to have to pick what do you want to save? Do you want to save the highlights or do you want to save the shadows, right? But maintain the maximum amount dynamic range that you can with this camera. So if you want to save the shadows, you use spot low or spot shadow. If you want to save the highlights, you do spot high. Most people are going to use spot high, and they're going to let the shadows clip if they need to black. Normally, that's what people do. That's exposed to the right. And I do use that sometimes for landscapes, but I typically use spot high. I'll put the spot meter or the focus point onto the brightest cloud. I never put it directly on the sun, because that just basically saturates the sensors and it doesn't know exactly how to meter. It might do too much, so I put it on a cloud next to the sun where it's not the very brightest point, but I'll put it onto a cloud. If I were doing shadows, yeah, you would just pick the darkest. So with RAW, should I ETTL and bring up the highlights or the opposite? RAW, there's no like highlights and shadows. ETTL is basically trying to bring the shadows up so that they're not clipped to black. So you would be bringing up the shadows. It would be the opposite. And spot highlight is you're trying to bring the highlights as bright as they can without clipping. So you would use spot high. Really a kind of a unique feature for OM systems. Now, Pentax, and probably other camera systems, I don't know, but Pentax has a spot high metering, but it's not just one spot. It looks at the entire scene, finds the brightest part in the entire frame and exposes for that for ETTR. So it brings that within one stop of clipping. Ironically, the Pentax does not have, say, a shadow spot shadow. It has like this highlight metering, but it doesn't have shadow metering that I could find. It'd be interesting to know what camera systems have highlight and shadow metering. For now, all I know is OM Systems is the only one that has actually spot high and spot low. And off topic, if I shoot low 80 instead of OM-1S200, does this cause more noise? I haven't seen any problem. Basically, uh, what I've heard is, excuse me, almost my bedtime. What I've heard is that you lose some highlight data. Like you might clip your highlights sooner, but I don't think you'll get more noise, so to speak. I've never tested to see the difference. The only time I use ISO 80 is when I really need to get the exposure down darker. Like if I'm doing a live comp or something and the exposure is too bright, I'll use low 80. But yeah, I've never tested that. But I think you're really splitting hairs. I don't think it makes that much difference. And Darko, good to see you. Editing in camera, yes. I was doing a little bit of that with the image overlay. But if you want to know more about that, let me know. I do a lot of editing in camera. Justin Rice says, does the 12 to 42.8 balance on the OM-3? No, I don't think it does. So, but let me give a big caveat. I don't think the 12 to 40 Pro works well with the M5 Mark III, but a lot of people are perfectly fine with the 12 to 40 f2.8 Pro on an EM5 Mark III, but I'm not. So just like I'm not with the EM5, I'm not really a big fan of this lens on the OM-3. So let me give you just a quick look. This is without the lens hood, right? So it works. I mean, if you hold your camera with your left hand, right, like always shoot two-handed. Generally speaking, you should be shooting two-handed. Perfectly fine. But it is front heavy with this lens. Holding it one-handed, this is heavy. My hand would get very tired if I held the camera one-handed like this with a 12 to 40. I'm already white knuckling it right here to hold it. So yeah, it's not great. I mean, everybody says, yeah, it's fine, but if there's no grip here, I've talked about this in the last stream. Your pressure points are on the front and the back, right? You have to basically pinch the camera to hold it because there's no grip. When you have a grip, you now are pushing the energy from your hand in this direction into the side of the camera, into your palm, right? So now, with the grip, you have really a much more balanced, energy going around the camera to hold it like this, if there were a grip on here. You're not relying on just pinching in these two directions, which is really, really awkward. But it can be done, but I don't think it's comfortable. I guess in terms of, okay, so also if you look at the plane here, this lens is just barely above the base, but the camera's going to tilt forward just a tiny bit on a surface. And if I have the lens hood on here, it's definitely now the lens hood is below the plate, right? As you can see. So now the camera's going to tilt up when you set it down. So I think this lens is a little bit too big for this camera. But I say that, if I put a grip on this camera, then the 12 to 40 Pro is fine. I've seen some third-party grips now for this. Then this will be perfectly fine. But as is, natively, this is a little bit too big in my opinion. Okay. Marco says, what if you could have all the computational tech in a full frame sensor? What type of processing speed would you need? Most full frame sensors are 24 megapixels. The Sonys go to 33, sometimes 60, and Nikon's have 44, and now Panasonic has 44. So you would just I would think it'd be pretty straightforward math, right? You multiply the difference in megapixels from 20 to 24 to 33 to 40, and that would basically multiply the processing power you would need. Because as it is, the it's taking about 7 or 8 seconds to process a high-res shot mode, right? In the OM-3. If you were to give it put it into a full frame camera, you would need, if you went, say, from 20 to 33 megapixels, you would need about a 70% faster processor, right? What's 33 divided by 20? 65%. So your processor would need to be 65% faster to get the same processing speed. I mean, if we really want to oversimplify it, I know there's a lot of other things involved in processing data, right? Because you have buffers, cache memory. Uh, Sometimes you have dedicated chips to a specific function that may, make the overall processing power irrelevant because it's dedicated to one task. But yeah, if I were to simplify it, I would look at it that way. Thanks for testing it. Yeah, well, that was a great question. I was I was a little I had no I never thought about it, but this is what's great about live Q&A is we both learn something, right? A lot of time. I always learn something when I do these live streams, and that's how we grow. Wayne is here. Good to see you. Uh, and yeah, Capen makes a good point for Darko that most computational features are done after taking the pictures. Speed does only matter in the sense how long would you like that to wait for the result. But I think live ND, grad ND, you're looking at it almost in real time in a lot of cases through the EVF. So you would need additional processing power there. But for the most part, Captain is right. It may be more about memory than just, oh, okay. So John is alluding to what I was talking about earlier. It's not simply processing power. There's also other components involved in making something happen. Okay. I'm expecting my mom to be here about 9:30 to pick something up. So I may end the stream at that point, or if you guys want to wait till I come back, I can. It'll only take about 2 minutes, unless she wants to jibber jabber about something. But hi, Rob. Did I miss the high resolution? It's fantastic. Yeah, I did that in the beginning, and I put links to my Flickr page of some high resolution examples. Um, yeah. So I will put that link here again, though. I should make a photo album for just high-res shots. I think I might have started that, but here's one example. That's a high-res shot pano, and this one took me a couple of hours, but this is a 500 megapixel pano using high-res shot mode. So definitely check those two images out. Just as a starting point. But I should do a video on the computational features so that it's a little more concise. This everything I'm talking about today, because in a live stream, It's kind of a train wreck to try to follow what I'm doing because I'm answering questions that are not related to computational, then I'm doing demos, and then I'm looking at but that's fun, right? I don't know, I have fun doing it. A big lens would need a two-handed approach on any camera. True. What are your thoughts? I agree 100%. I was a Fuji X-T3 user, and that is what I needed to do, yeah. Because a lot of the Fuji lenses are pretty chunky. And you should always hold your camera with two hands. That's just, to me, that's the best way to hold a camera. You can hold cameras one-handed like a GR3, right? These little tiny little cameras. But interchangeable lens cameras that have lenses, you need to zoom in and out, right? If you like to manually focus, you got that. And for better stability, and basically what this does, holding your camera left-handed, it frees up your right hand to navigate all the different buttons and dials. Maybe if you like to use the uh, touch AF here, where you can move the focus point around, etc. Moms need the jibber jabber. Yeah, they do. And Harold Graham says, "Thank you. You're welcome." And Wayne says, "I've not gotten any communication from OM system on my OM-3 yet. 25 millimeter arrived today. 17 is due on Monday. You should get it." Now, I looked at, yes, I have it. I got mine today. Well, that's a lie. I started using mine today. I actually got a little bit sooner because, I had a loaner from OM System, so I've been using that up until today. Today I started using my copy. But officially I didn't officially have mine until today. Unofficially, yeah, I've had it for a few days. Okay. But that's because OM System gave me a loaner for no other reason. And I was very careful not to use mine until today. That's why the battery, when I unboxed it, was still in there. I haven't even put the battery in it. Let's see. You have your okay, so I answered that, and did I go through all the different I think those are the main computationals. I didn't talk about live comp. That's not really a computational feature, but that is a neat feature. Other live comp. Now what I noticed is you know how you push and hold the CP button and you rotate the dial to change the different modes? And now I have an icon up here that tells me what CP mode I'm in, computational mode. But I can deactivate it by pushing and holding the CP button. Oops. Unless I'm in focus stacking, then it goes into the menu. So if I go, maybe it's better if I do it overhead here. This is where I was kind of fumbling a little bit earlier. Is this is working, right? Um, if I push and hold this and rotate, let's say I go into handheld high-res shot mode. Now I have the icon up here that says I'm in high-res shot mode, right? Handheld high-res shot mode. I can push and hold the CP button and it deactivates the high-res shot mode. You can see the icon's gone. But to go back in, I have to push and rotate the dial. Let's go to grad ND, for example. So now I'm in grad ND. And you can see, let me take off the lens hood. Now you can see the grad ND, right? And if I push and hold, it deactivates the grad ND. So you don't have to actually go back in and rotate the dial to turn off a feature. However, when I was in focus stacking mode, if I push and hold this, it goes into the focus stacking menu. It doesn't deactivate it. So if you choose focus stacking, you have to actually rotate the dial to get out of it. Well, yeah, you have to rotate the dial to get out of it. How about HDR? So I'm in HDR mode, as you can see from the icon here. I can push and hold and that deactivate it. Push and hold, I have to go back in. Well, I don't even have to push and hold. If I short press it, it toggles on and off. Let's try that with high-res shot mode. Okay, look at that. So it's not a press and hold, it's a toggle. Let's go back to focus stacking. If I do this, okay, short press toggles, long press will go into the menu. And then let's go to grad ND because that has some options, right? So we'll do that. The short press turns it off. Nope. I'm still in grad ND. Short press toggles the control line. Long press turns it off. So each one is a little bit different. In long press, doesn't turn it back on. You have to go all the way back in. So yeah, there's a little bit inconsistency in the workflow between these different computational features. Like multiple exposure, I can toggle on and off. I like that. If I push and hold it, then it takes me into the multiple exposure menu where I can just short press and turn it off. Focus stack, high-res shot mode, the toggle. It's really just the grad ND that's a little bit odd. The grad ND, I can toggle to the control line. I can toggle back to take the picture, and then push and hold turns it off. But if I short press again, okay, it goes back in. But a short press is not a toggle. Okay. Sorry, didn't mean to bore you guys with that, but I'm just trying to get a feel for the workflow of using the CP button. It's more than just switching between the different CP modes. It actually, long press will take you into menu options if that CP mode has menu options. And short presses toggles it on and off, except for the grad ND. The grad ND toggles it between the control line and taking a picture. And long pressing deactivates it because the grad ND, I guess, doesn't have a menu line item. Yeah, it's going to take, the workflow is a little bit different for each button. So it's going to take a little bit of practice. But if you're using a particular computational feature all the time, you'll get muscle memory for it. But I think that could be confusing to some people, right? Okay, anywhere firmware changes in the final version, not that I could find. I'm still on firmware version 1.00. But when you go into OM Workspace, it says 1.003. When you look at it on the camera, it says 1.00. But I didn't see any difference. Other than, okay, John, other than the buffer, I could have sworn up and down that that buffer was 68. Actually, oh, my mom is here. I could have sworn It was I got some I actually did some screenshots of the loaner they gave me. Um, okay, I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check, okay? My mom is here. I have to go get something. I'll be right back. See. I'll be right back. I'm back. Uh, so yeah, where'd I put that memory card? Let's look at I recorded some screens when I was doing some birding. I'm definitely gonna have some buffer. Okay. I got that in there. My audio's back on. Yeah, okay. Let me take a quick look. That tripped me up. Somebody asked very early on in the stream today, what is the buffer size? Some people are saying 68 or 66, and others are saying it's like uh, you know, more, right? Thomas was saying it's 100. Oh, do I have okay, maybe this one. No. I was not using shoot. I was not using the continuous shutter. This is when I was testing the eye stuff on Ellie. A lot further down. How about this one? Anyone see a buffer? Oh, there it is. Yeah, it came up for a split second. See this one. What is this? Oh, this is I was doing the grad ND. Okay. This one is There it is. Oh, look at that. It's 85. All right, so John, the short answer is I don't see any differences. I could have sworn the buffer was 68 before. Oh my God, my dying eyes. But I can't, the screen is just a little bit blurry when I look at it because I need to wear glasses when I need reading glasses. This whole time I could have sworn it was like 68 or 65. I've been telling people that for weeks, and I'm wrong. It's 85. And there's the proof right there, because that was the date of that video. Oh, that video doesn't have a date. Yeah. But this was before I started using my camera. This is the loaner camera. I'm pretty sure, because I didn't do that today. Oh, this. Yeah. All right. It is what it is. I've been telling the people the wrong number. I consider the OM-1 Mark II for wildlife over the OM-3, yes. Because the OM-1 Mark II has like a 200 frame buffer. And if you're, shooting at 50 frames per second, that's 4 seconds. That's a lot. It could, so basically what that's going to mean is, nobody really mashes their button for 4 seconds, but you're going to get a little more lead time for pro capture, and you're going to get longer burst times when you are tracking a bird that's moving very quickly. So to give you an example is when I'm doing kingfishers, sometimes they fly down, they get the bird, or they get the fish in like a split second. So 85 frame buffer is fine for that. But what's fun to watch is when they fly back up out of the water, sometimes they take the long way around. I guess because they're way down by the fish, it takes them longer to get back up. Sometimes they pick up a pretty big fish and they're like struggling to get back up. And it's kind of fun to keep shooting as they're flying back up. And that's when I found that even the 98 frame buffer on my OM-1 was a little bit short. Because what happened one time was, this was actually when the kingfisher was diving down. I was using pro capture. So half of my buffer was eaten up by the pro capture. And then as he dove down into the water for that split second or half second, my buffer filled up just before he hit the water. I wanted to get that shot of the beak just touching the edge of the water and getting a little bit of a splash of the beak. But the shot that I got was right here, and then the buffer filled up, and then the next shot I got was the bird flying out, right? So I kind of yeah, OM-1 Mark II is the way to go if you want to do things like that. And having a bigger buffer is always better, regardless any kind of sports action. But that's a very specific example I noticed where if I had a 200 frame buffer, I'd have been better off. Feature-wise, yeah, it's mainly the buffer. Mainly the buffer. Features, no, there's no difference in features. Hit the like button. Oh, thank you, Marsh. I appreciate that. I'm guessing the workflow will get better with firmware updates. Maybe. I mean, I have to think. I'm starting to use that function more because it's on that camera. It'll come to me, but you never know. They might do some improvements there. And in Winnipeg, Canada, we will have 4 or 5 inches of snow and cooling off again. How about you guys? It's going to get a little cooler, but we ain't getting no snow. And it only get cool for a couple days, but thank God spring is around the corner. I can't wait. And John Steiner says, thanks, my OM-3 arrived on Saturday. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. And B is a new member. Thank you so much for your support, B. I really appreciate that. So that brings me to, I always forget to talk about, like, how you can support the channel and the work that I do here, because I always do my best. You don't have to be a member. You're going to get the same thing everyone else does, member or non-member. But being a member shows that you're supporting the work that I do here. I do a lot of work, uh, not just here live on YouTube, but also, answering emails, going into the comment section, answering questions in the comment, helping people in the photo clubs. So offline, completely, I help people as much as I can, and so everything, and I don't charge anybody nothing, nobody, for all this help that I do. So if you want to help the photography or help me to help the photography community, becoming a member is the easiest way. It's just 99 cents. I don't have any higher tiers. Not like you can go $3.99 and get more. It's 99 cents to support what I do here and offline. You can buy me a coffee. You can send a donation using, the donation links. I think I have them in the thing below. Or the easiest way is just to use my affiliate links. If you want to order the OM-3 or a lens or whatever, anything you need to get, loaf of bread, if you use my affiliate link, I'll get 2 to 4% of that, something like it depends what it is. And it doesn't cost you any more, obviously. And Tuesdays I do shopping streams where I try to find a really good deal. So a really good example is I got this bag for $3.50 for my OM-3. My OM-3 fits in here perfect. Well, the OM-3, not with the 12 to 40 lens on it. It could fit in here with the 12 to 40. I'll try it. So here's the 12 to 40 and the OM-3. And yeah, fits in there just fine. And then I can zip it up. So there's room in here to put my filters, maybe the 45 millimeter or the 75 millimeter 1.8 lens over here on this side. I'm sorry, on this side. And this works as a fanny pack if you want, because you can shorten the strap, or you can carry it as a sling bag. And it's not on sale anymore, it's gone. But my page is robtrek.com/deals. And if you go there, I try to look for the very best deals on Amazon. That was one of them. Another one was a tripod, $16 for a tripod, and it's a good tripod, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I do a lot of work there. On Tuesdays, I do that. And so if you use my affiliate links, I get a couple bucks there as well. So everything you guys do to support is always greatly appreciated. And then absolutely free is subscribing, clicking the like button. I guess that helps. I don't know. Every YouTuber says, yeah, click the like button and uh, subscribe, all of that stuff. Honestly, I haven't seen any difference in my metrics. If I get a 10,000 views, new you know what I mean? Those things don't matter to me. I'm not really treating this channel like a business first. A lot of channels, content creators, they treat their YouTube channel as a business first. And and I'm not harping on that at all. That's, if you want to make this a business first, that's fine. Uh, you know, but my goal when I turn on the live stream button is to help as many people as I can, and do the best I can. And I know I'm very clumsy sometimes, but we'll get there together, right? I try. So Eric says, "Are you going to do a photo walk videos, or is that not your thing these days? You're kind of like a live channel, which in a way is cool. Just need a band and guests." Yeah, yeah, I stopped doing photo walks pretty much last year and doing mostly live streaming. Uh, I should get out there, but I should. I'll try. I'll try and do more. As it gets warmer, hopefully I'll get motivated to bring. I bring this little camera with me everywhere. This little Insta Instago or whatever this is. It's but not, I'm bringing like 2 cameras all the time, if not 3, right? And an extra tripod to hold this up. Who's really good at this kind of thing though is Thomas Heaton. He has mastered like the one-man band photo walk. That guy, I mean, he goes all out. He climbs every mountain twice because you always see these videos of him walking up the mountain. He's by himself. He has to walk back down and get his little camera. I ain't climbing a mountain twice, okay, for a vlog. But I know a lot of people that really liked it when I did my photo walks. And um, and some people found it helpful, but it's more of an entertainment thing, right? Nobody really does that better than Thomas Heaton, in my opinion. And Frog says, I got the OM-3 this morning, drove 50 miles to my camera store. Do not know how to use the digital camera, so it'll be fun to find out. I got it as it looked like my OM-2 and film. Yeah. Yeah, that's mainly why I got it. And that's what I talked about in the beginning was that really I bought it for its looks. And the fact that it's as capable as the OM-1 Mark II sort of sealed the deal. But a lot of people are like, well, I would have bought the looks for half the price. And like Robin Wong said, yeah, I don't care about live ND or high res shot mode or all these computational things. I don't need all that. Give me a camera that looks like that at a lower price point. Well, there's a lot of people in that camp, right? I'm in both. If they come out with another camera at half the price that looks like that, I'll probably buy that one too, you know? But I'm very content with what they came out with, not compromising on any of the features versus the OM-1, except for the buffer and some physical things like its single card slot, uh, lower res EVF. These are really very minor things for all intents and purposes of what this camera is for. The main thing about this camera is that it has this retro styling design and it's well made, weather sealed, so it's very durable. And can do everything the OM-1 Mark II does, aside from those physical differences in card slots and EVF and uh, no pins on the bottom, so you can't like put an additional vertical grip with buttons on it, stuff like that. But those are kind of outside the realm of who this camera is for, I think. And my goodness, thank you so much, Darko. It's very generous of you. I appreciate that. It's 3:44 midnight here in Europe. I thought this was a recording and see this video. You have a lot of passion. Oh, thank you, Angelo. I try. I try. I really love the OM system camera. I mean, I'm a fan, so I'm going to be biased. I'm more biased than most ambassadors, I think. If you want to be really honest, I will tell you that the OM system camera is the best thing ever. Okay. And I truly believe that in my heart. Now, is it the best camera ever? Probably not, right? There's arguments to be made. I could have bought an XT50, an XT5, a Nikon ZF, uh, a Sony A7C, Mark II or 3, whatever they're up to now. All these cameras are priced at the same or less and are objectively just as capable, right? You're going to get great images out of them. And Some have more resolution, some have bigger sensors, right? Well, they all do. So mildly better low light performance. It's pretty marginal at this point, to be honest. And uh, I could go on and on, right? Like I talked about in the beginning, you can cherry pick specs and say, this camera is definitely better than this one, if those are the specs that you care about. But I don't care about the sensor size, right? I don't care about the and that's all they got going for them. I don't care about the film profiles that Fuji has. But if you took the film profiles away from Fuji, the film simulations, how much is that camera worth now? If you took away the amazing autofocus from Sony, how much are their cameras worth now? You know, every camera kind of has their thing. In OM systems, their thing right now is the execution of their computational modes. And to me, that has a lot of value. I love those things. You know, the ND filters, the grad ND, I'm really starting to like now with the CP button, the high res shot modes. I just love all of these things. Uh, and the execution of it. And Angelus, I understand Robert Wong points as vintage cameras with retro styling are more geared to travel and street. Hence, some of the features in the OM-3 are overkill to him, but it has a stacked sensor. Yeah. So, like I said, I think if they just took the OM-5 and repackaged it into a retro camera, they probably could have been closer to the 1300 price point. And if they repackaged the EM10 Mark IV, they could certainly be at the $1,000 price point, right? Like no weather sealing, no phase detect, but everything else, all the not all, but some of the computational features and the great 20 megapixel sensor without phase detect or being stacked and all of that. Honestly, the M10 Mark IV, the OM-5, they're already pretty vintage looking as it is. They're just plastic instead of metal, but I think they're very vintage looking, just like my look at this. This is my EM1 Mark I in silver. Where'd my OM-3 go? If I let me take the lens off, but you know, look at these two cameras side by side. Take this cap off. So it just to keep things kind of equal. I mean, this was what, 2011, 2012? I don't know when this came out. This has been out a while. These are pretty close, but this one has a grip, right? So yeah, OM Systems has always made very vintage looking cameras. But this one costs about 1/10 the price of that OM-3. And I would say this probably does 80% of what the OM-3 does, right? It's a little bit slower. It doesn't have live ND. I mean, it doesn't have it doesn't have the live ND filters or the grad ND or high res shot mode. I think it does have the focus stacking. It has double exposure. It has all of the art filters. It has yeah, live comp and phase detect autofocus. It's a little slow though. A little bit slow. I think the shutter, the mechanical shutter is the same, if not better on this. But the electronic shutter is very slow, rolling shutter. Anyway, so is this camera worth, 10 times the price? To me, it is. But aesthetically, man, they're pretty close. This one has a grip, right? Okay. I went out and shot with this camera about a month ago. Man, it's just beautiful images. Beautiful. Olympus has always done, and now OM systems, they really have beautiful image quality. This is the lens I'm going to use with this camera the most, though, is the kit lens, 14 to 42. I mean, this, this makes it very, very compact. Almost like you could put it into a coat pocket. Well, you could. I don't know why you would. I don't get that whole I can't put it in my coat pocket thing. If you want a coat pocket camera, GR3, PG7, these are coat pocket cameras, not cameras with interchangeable lenses. As soon as you put on a real lens, because it's just a kit lens, but if you put a 12 to 45 f4 or 12 to 100, what's the point of having a coat pocket? You need a bag. EM1 Mark 1 is not that slow. Still could bird with. I did do some birding with it. It felt like a frickin' molasses compared to my OM1 though. You can do it, but man, it's harder. But I did do it. And Clint says if they did an OM-5 based retro camera, I definitely would want to be in the full-fledged rangefinder body package, but I think works next to computational goodies. 13. Yeah. Yep. That's pretty much what we're pretty much on the same page there. I love the EM1 Mark 1. Someday I'll own one again someday. Yeah, it's a great camera. And this has the tilt screen that everybody likes, right? Instead of the full flip out. So I would argue this may be even a better street camera than the OM-3. For 1/10 the price. I mean, this is what I'm saying is like if you wanna talk about used cameras, they're extremely capable used cameras for next to nothing. I paid $250 for this. This was the first camera purchase of 2025 this year. I just got this. And this I got this at a steal, I think. But I would argue this camera's better in every way than the Pen F, and this is like less than half the price of the Pen F right now. And let's see, correct. Every manufacturer focus on some features as their USP, unique selling point. OM Digital Solution focus on enhance their cameras with computational photography, Fuji on film simulations, etc. Yeah, I mean, everybody has kind of their thing, right? Their USP, or there's another word for it. But yeah, and Ovidiu says I can't pronounce that. Ovidiu. Okay. I still have the M1 and still love it. Yeah, it's a great camera. And it says phone crazy. I would just need all the computational ND features. Yes, okay, now I understand. I think that I got the gist of it from your messed up comment there, but okay. I need to go to bed. It's like 10 o'clock here. I normally go to bed at 9 o'clock. And but I'll hang on for a little while if you guys have any more questions or want to throw in a super chat. Just kidding. But I'm gonna go out more with this camera. I'm gonna try and document it in video so you guys can see what I'm doing. And I'm gonna make some videos on the computational. I can show you a couple of those. Not computational, but the art filters. So I showed you this one. This was a double exposure or image overlay. I'm working on a new profile. So this is the Oops. I'm working on this profile. Where's the original? Hmm. Working on the profile. Where's another one? I have to go to. This is what Robin is good at. He's good at showing pictures. I need to get better at this. I took all of these with the OM-3, all of these images here. I even have some videos somewhere. Oh, come on. My drives are spinning up. That's why I'm getting this. Okay, there it goes. All right, so let me go into my projects. Go down here to the OM. And yeah, I didn't do a good job here, but here's like the original image. This is the grainy black and white film. This is an art filter. So most of the Olympus cameras have this. And then this is the Vintage 2 filter. So if I show you these side by side. So here's grainy black and white, here's a straight out of camera raw, and here's the vintage. So you can really get very, very different looks with the art filters. Here's another two that I did. You know, this is the original raw image. This is the gentle sepia with pinhole effect. So again, you can do this in camera. And I was trying to come up with my own profiles. This is a good shot here. So this is grainy black and white film with slow shutter speed and flash. So I fired a flash to kind of freeze or, you know, get a nice shot of Maryland here. But then I dragged the shutter and moved the camera. So I got these nice little streaks. And, you know, here's a shot I used with dramatic tone. Dramatic tone is really good for architecture and skies. I think it does a really good job with these kind of subjects. Let's see. Here we have, this is the instant film art filter. This is the straight out of camera natural profile. To get a little more pop, I like the instant film profile a lot. I used it a lot today with my friends. Where is that? Uh, don't have that. What's this? These were, okay, all right, let me show you this. I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but this is something they took out of the OM-1 Mark 1. I don't know if the OM-1 Mark 2 has this, but in the OM-1 Mark 1, you could not get these highlight shadow indicators. So this is the shadow indicator in blue. This does not exist on the OM-1 Mark 1, but it is on the OM-3. I don't know about the OM-1 Mark 2, though. So that's kind of new. And then, of course, the color wheel. So I'm going to work on some videos with some custom profiles that I'm making. I'm working on them. Dang it, where are they, though? They're in one of these folders. I pull up. Go into this folder. I'm working on a new one that I really like. I'm calling it Rob Trek Diamond. And I'm going to make all these available for free, okay? The only thing I might do different for people that are members is give you the files so you can just upload them into your camera directly. Uh, but I might make it available to everybody. But I'll definitely give you the settings for the profile so you can program your OM-3 or PenF or EP7 with these color profiles. I wanted to show you one more. Come on, where is it? Studio. I think this will be a really good one for portraits. I did show this one briefly before, but if I do a side by side before and after, so I originally shot this in a monochrome profile, but this, if I were to let me do virtual copy. I could have sworn OM Workspace had virtual copy. Oh, if not, that's all right. We'll do. That. Reset. Ah, I hate when that happens. When I'm trying to do, I'm gonna have to report this to OM systems. When I do this one particular sequence of moves, OM Workspace kind of crams up into this little tiny window, and then it takes me a while before it comes back, so forget it. I'm sorry, guys. I can't get it to work. Let me check my Instagram folder. Yeah. This doesn't mean anything by itself. You have to see the side by side. That's going to be a great profile. This one's going to be a very good profile. This I'm calling I haven't thought of a name for this, but I'm going to come up with different names for the different profiles. Wow, you guys are dropping. Thank you so much, guys. So Wayne, thank you. Wow, I really appreciate that. And John, thank you so much. And Adam, thank you so much. Here's my donation to the cause. Thank you. Oh, thank you. I tell you, you guys rock, man. Uh, yeah, remember the telethons, man, that we used to watch when we were kids? I think Jerry Lewis had always had his big one, Jerry's Kids. And I should do that. I should get some like some B-list celebrities. Get some B-list celebrities. I'm a B-lister actually on YouTube. If not D-list, I'm probably a D-lister YouTube creator. I'm not like the A-list like Tony and Fro, but nice picture showing the use of art filters. Yeah, I try. I love the art filters. I don't use them very often, but when I do, if I can pull up one I did today. I was shooting with art filters today with my friends, and they were like, "Oh, that's so cool! You got a little vignetting, and the colors look cool." Let me see if I can show you one of those. Where is it? Yeah, I put that. I didn't put it in the OM folder. So the other thing I need to do for you guys is I was using the soft filter, art filter here. And then let's see, they were playing on this pole. Here, I think I used the instant film filter. We went to this sort of this retro looking ice cream place to get some ice cream. And I just took a picture of the chairs. I can't believe my horizon is crooked. I'm usually very careful about that. Where's the shot of her? Like, yeah, I think this is the instant film filter. Uh, yeah, this is instant film. I'd show you the original, but I haven't changed the exit data. Something I need to show you guys how to do, because you can't edit these in DxO Photolab yet. But you can run, I have this program that I run, Exif GUI. You can see this is like, I can't do anything with that file yet. But if I go into, let's see, 2025. I go in here and I'll select all of these files. Right now it says OM-3, so I'll just change this to OM-1 Mark II. OM-1 Mark II. And then hit save. And then down here you'll see it counting down. So now it's updating the EXIF data in all of those photos. Let me close Photolab. And then reopen it. Now all of the EXIF data has been changed. Oops. So let me go back in. Coming back. Hopefully it'll work. Watch it not work here when I'm live. It's kind of like when I forget, some company launched some major product and then it didn't work on when they were demoing it to like this huge crowd. Okay. So I do image. Of course it's not working. Ah. Workspace crashed. I'm going to close that. Close that. Close that. Okay, I'm still live though, right? I don't want to close my live window down. And we have where is it? Yeah, so that's without the art filter. I just oh, I didn't select the okay. So on the left is the raw image, on the right is the instant film art filter. I think it looks really good for this kind of shot. And then Here's one. There's another, why doesn't that pair? Yeah. There's another one, the original on the left and the pop art filter on the right. It's kind of cool. I did that today, and they really liked it. This was kind of a fun shot. Um, they were kind of jumping up on this pole, and yeah, I think the pop art filter looks better than just a straight out of camera raw. All right, so one more comment here, then I'm gonna go. Adam Farr says, you are an M43 A-lister. Again, you are a solid long-form YouTuber, Rob. Don't sell yourself short. Humility is appreciated, but you are a great photography resource. Well, I try. I try my best. Thank you so much, Wayne. And you guys have a great rest of your day or evening. I'm going to be lights out here in about 10 minutes. And I'm going to get up early for the sunrise. Hopefully it's partly cloudy so I can get some nice clouds. And I'm going to use my grad ND filter. I'm going to use my high res shot mode. I'm going to use some ND, I'm going to use my legit ND filters. I got my legit ND filters in here and polarizers. And show you guys, I got these magnetic ones. K&F sent me these magnetic ones and they sent me this one. I told them I would show how these work. This is an interesting one. What it does is it's a dual ND filter and polarizer in one. So it's a little confusing to me. I'm not sure how different this is than just using a variable ND filter to begin with. I'm going to experiment a little bit with this. But, retail list price on this freaking filter and the magnetic ones, it's like 90 bucks. Excuse me, $90. I mean, they're nice, but come on. So I really want to see when you can get these discounted for probably $70 or $60, then we're kind of in the range of like what I'm comfortable with. But you know me, I always buy the cheapest ones, like $20 or less. I bought a $3 filter once and it was great. This is a premium filter. It's flowing pretty smooth now. Of course, when I used this last, it was like below zero. It was below freezing, and it was like really tight. The grease in here was tight, but it's okay now. So I'm gonna try and take a lot of photos with the OM-3. If I remember, I'll bring this digicam with me. It's not a digicam. What do you call these things? Action cams, right? I'll bring this thing with me and try to put a little footage together. I know Eric was asking about, am I going to ever do a vlog again? My intent is I bought this so I could do vlogging, and then I've had this for a year and I haven't done a single vlog with it. I mean, I take it with me all the time because it's tiny, right? I can just put it in my pocket, but I don't know. All right, guys. There's one more question. Any chance to change the appearance of the viewfinder? No, it looks exactly the same as the OM-5. What is different though is it's using the same fonts and it's hard to describe, but they're using the same fonts and the same size fonts as the OM-1. So even though it's the same resolution as the OM-5, it really feels like it's a higher resolution EVF because the fonts look smoother and they're a little bit smaller because they're packing more information in because there's more features. So even though it looks even though it has the same resolution, same magnification, all that, it looks crisper to me, uh, simply because of the fonts they use. So I don't know if they've done some tweaking to the uh, graphic engine, to drive the display so that it looks better. But it looks better, but technically it's not. But it looks better. My perception is it looks nicer because they're using different fonts and things. So uh, hopefully that makes sense. And the 17 millimeter f2.8 pancake, yeah, that would be nice on there. And my Olympus E410 and 25 2.8 pancake fit easily in the pocket. Would love to see similar lens for Micro Four Thirds. Yeah. The Well, like Wayne was saying, the closest is the 17, and Panasonic makes a 20 1.7, I believe. And I'll show you one lens can show. I know I said I was leaving, but I'm still here, right? Uh, guess what else I got in my little filter pouch here? The legendary 15 millimeter f8 body cap lens. Well, the 9 millimeter is probably legendary, but I broke it. But the 15 millimeter body cap lens, look at that. Now, if that doesn't fit in your coat pocket, nothing will. This lens is awesome for using art filters, like the grainy black and white, or because at f8, it's going to throw your ISO up to like 1600 or 6400. It's going to crank your ISO up 3 or 4 stops because it's at f8. And um, the lens is a little bit soft to begin with. It's kind of soft and sharp at the same time. It's weird, but we'll just call it soft. And but when you take pictures of this with the art filters, like the vintage art filter, man, it looks vintage. Or shoot in monochrome or black and white with grainy black and white art filter, whatever. This looks really this is the perfect like art filter. So I brought this with me. I was going to use this, shoot a little bit with this tomorrow, because tomorrow's supposed to be kind of a nice day. I'm supposed to go to some big Mardi Gras event. I don't like crowds, and I don't like taking the train. I've never taken a train before. So but this would be perfect for like a Mardi Gras thing, and using the instant film art filter. And classic. Seven Artists has an 18 5.6. I don't think it's available for Micro Four Thirds yet. And Rala Gravet, thank you so much. Try to remember my name. I will try. I will try. By tomorrow, I won't even remember I did a live stream, to be honest, but I will try. But I really appreciate the support. It helps me out a lot. Um, yeah, the 5.6 body cap. Maybe they have. I mean, I think I have that lens, but it's in an L mount or something. It's not the UFO lens. But I didn't think it came in Micro Four Thirds. Because if it did, I would have asked for that instead of the one they gave me. Hmm. Available. I have a few. Okay. Gotta look at this. So it's 18. This? Yeah, this is the lens they sent me. There's a 2.8. guess you guys are talking about this lens. 7 Artisans 18 5.6. 32 millimeters, so it's 3.2 centimeters. It's not that small, but it is a nice compact lens. This is a full frame. So Z mount, L mount, there it is. Well, that's the 6.3. I have that in like L mount. L mount. No, that's L mount again. This looks like it's autofocus. Is it? Ultra wide? Or it's a fixed focus. Oh, it's a fixed focus. All right. Anyway. Huh. Yeah, the 9 millimeter body cap, I busted the front end off. It still takes pictures, but I can't focus it. Not that you need too much, right? But you could get a little better sharpness out of it if you took your time to focus it. Just like this 15. The 15, you just take a little extra time to focus it. It worked. Oh, man, I'm about to have a narcoleptic attack here. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're really, man, you're really being very generous tonight. So you you're the one that had the question about the buffer. That's right. I buy a lot of stuff through your affordable affiliate links. Oh, I appreciate that. So huge supporter, Rolla. Thank you so much. You're being really, really kind. You remind me of James Spader with hair. I just made the connection. James Spader, who the heck is that? Oh, I can see that. That's funny. You know, it's funny. I can see that. I've never watched anything he's ever been. He did Blacklist or something. I've been meaning to get to that. Huh. Wait, is that James Spader when he was young? Wasn't he like in man, what happened to his hair? Look at the hair. What happened, buddy? Okay. So why is James Spader's name so familiar? I mean, other than Blacklist, but now that I saw his other picture, wasn't he Stargate? That's where I know him from. Okay. I know him from Stargate. That's what it is. I definitely not a young James. What's his name again? James Spader. But I could see where you're getting the older James Spader from. Except I have a little more hair left. Not getting thin. I still have some. Yeah, he was what's his name in Stargate? I love that movie. I think I have it on Blu-ray. If not, at least on DVD. But I have that movie. Um James Spader with hair. Oh, you said with hair. Okay. That's interesting. Huh. I have to watch Blacklist, like an older James Spader, because I'm not anything like the young James Spader. But the older one, maybe. I'll have to watch Blacklist or something. So, all right. No, I'm going to go. You guys are awesome. It's been 3 hours. I don't know how I do these 3 hour streams and talk for 3 hours. But yeah, I'm just having a good time. And you guys are awesome. So have a great weekend. We'll see you again